How are you? My name is Michelle Connor, and I'm your VCS for Living Environment. Today we're going to be looking at how to construct a cladogram using a NOVA virtual lab. It's very cool. In the lesson, there is a introduction or model of cladograms in general. It's a good idea to make sure your students know what a cladogram is and the key aspects of a cladogram before they start this lab. So in order to get started, you can click the link that says Open Up. It's important to remind your students, because we're doing this over more than one day, they need to create an account. It is super easy to create an account. All you would do is you'd go to log in, and then they would just click to sign in with their Google account, and it'll automatically create the account for them. They just have to pick what Gmail account they would like to associate with this program. If they don't have a Google account for some reason, they would have to go ahead and create a PBS account, but in most cases, most of our students have Gmail accounts. So then we go to Play Game. And we'd have to start the mission. Now notice every mission is locked until you get past this one. So for mission 1, if we click play, there's 3 different stages that we have to get through in order
Let's talk tree basics.
In order to move forward. So you'll notice there is a video here.
An evolutionary phylogenetic tree is a depiction of how different species are related to each other.
So you don't have to watch these videos, although these videos are good, especially if the students need a little bit more support around the content. And then they'd go ahead and just go through the first section. So when you click in, there is a example video that goes over the basics, and then this one has 3 different sections. So the first one, the question is a fungus more closely related to an animal or a plant? So if we click play, it kind of guides you through, but it is a little tricky at times. So it says drag these 2 species into the center. So this center square, we're going to drag them in. So now you have 1, 2. And then what we're going to do is the shared traits are usually on the left. So we're going to click our shared trait, and you'll notice you can put it in 3 different spots. Here, here, or here. So we have to decide which of these has cell with a nuclei. So if I just think it's the gecko and I put it here, what happens is it runs up, and you'll notice that this turns the color of the shared trait. Now, because this one didn't turn colors, that means it's not correct. So it says both species share this trait, place the point below. And then you'll see it splits. And now they both have colors. All their colors are there. We're going to click next. Now there is a magnifying glass on the side, and you can click the different species, or you can click that one. Now, I didn't realize this right away, so this is a nice trick if your kids are getting stuck. It kind of tells you all the shared traits already, and you're kind of just organizing them. But it's important. I tried to do that without noticing that first and kind of just going off of what I know, but there is that feature where if they get stuck, it does tell them exactly what trait that they share. So now we have this fungus, and we have to decide, is it more like a plant or more like our animal? Now, if you pop it over here, you have heterotrophic. Now we know heterotrophic, they consume food. So I know these guys consume food, and I know, or I think, these both go through photosynthesis. Now you'll notice, if I do it again, that the pink will pop off the fungus because it does not apply to it. So I know that that's not right. Now if I move it over, you'll also notice that the fungus still does not have all of its color. So I know that's not in the right spot. Now if I did this nice and I looked at here, I could see, oh, it's heterotrophic. And what I can do is I can just take it, drag it, and split it over here. So now you'll see the colors go, and all of the colors are now filled in, so I know it's correct. So now I answer the question, is it more closely related to an animal or a plant? And I'll notice, because these branches are closer, it's more closely related to an animal. Click next. And then you're going to have the next section. Now the third one we have to unlock to finish the mission is all on these plants. Now I don't know about you, but I have no idea how many petals each one of these produces. So if I were to do like a guess and check, releases spores into the water, my guess would be just that seaweed, because that's the only one. Now I just simply threw these up here. I literally just pop them up and then I go from there. Now I notice I got one of these, so one of these has to be correct. I know they're all photosynthetic, so this has to be at the bottom. And again, I like to see how many I can get before I have to start cheating. I have no idea how many petals in multiples of 3 or 4 or 5. And I honestly don't know which ones produce flowers. So my guess and check game is probably going to take me forever unless I actually look them up. So what I'm going to do, here we go. So our banana is photosynthetic and produces flowers with petals in multiples of 3. Okay. Now our lemon is in 4, petals of 4 or 5. Our onions are in 3. So I know our onions are in 3. This might work here. Our lemon we said is 4 or 5. So remember, I can't put this down here because it'll go to everybody. Now I'm not sure about this radish. So the radish is also 4 or 5. Here we go. So seaweed's completely good. Now I notice that I have one more for all of these, and the only thing that's left is produces flowers. Now if we look at the search, it also says produces flowers. But when I originally looked at that, I didn't really notice that, to be honest. But I do notice that all of them are missing one over here. So this one has to go here. So there are going to be times where you have to kind of look up the information. So this says a banana more closely related to a lemon or an onion. So we have our banana and our onion, and our banana and our lemons further. So it's more closely related to an onion. And this is kind of cool because this is not something I would have thought, simply because when you think of things that are most in common, you kind of stay in the same category. So I was thinking like, an onion's closer to a radish because you kind of use them for the same thing when you're cooking. And the same thing kind of like a banana and a lemon, I would assume those to be kind of more similar. But based on this, we're going to go with it. Banana is more closely related to an onion. So there's a lot of really cool things. So this is actually really cool. It says fruits and vegetables are usually displayed in separate sections of the grocery store, but some plants that produce vegetables are more closely related to plants that produce fruits. So that's where I kind of was surprised myself. So again, that search tool is really helpful, especially as these trees start to get harder. And mission 1 is complete, so I can go on to the next level. And the next level is going to be looking at fossils, and then you have all these different kind of sections. There's DNA, where they live, and there's all these different options that they could play. So don't forget, as you are explaining these to your students, it would be a good idea if you gave them the video if they get stuck, or show them parts of the video if they get stuck. There are plenty of missions for them to complete, so don't feel like you have to only show them one section and then make them kind of finish on their own. It takes a little bit to get used to, so it's important that you show them enough so they understand the more complicated ones, because they do get pretty tricky. Like I've gotten stuck and I have to kind of really sit and think and kind of move things around a little bit. So it's important that you give them enough examples and model the procedure well enough so they understand exactly how the lab works, and also so how they can it's kind of scaffolded and they can work their way up to be able to do it on their own later.